We have now reached 2025, and with so many shows coming to the West End or touring the UK, it's very easy to forget what's actually been announced and what's coming up this year. Well, as someone who has listed every single news story this year, I have quite a good insight into what's coming over this year, so I'm going to walk through my most anticipated shows for 2025. We're going to walk through the plays, we're going to walk through the concerts, we're going to walk through some exciting new casting, and then we are going to walk through all of the musicals. So you can be ready for what's coming up in UK theatre in 2025. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets and rankings. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me. It helps out the channel. But let's dive in to 2025 in theatre. Now, as I said, I'm going to be exploring all things UK theatre today, whether that be musicals, concerts, or plays. I understand that some of you may just be interested in musicals, may just be interested in plays, so I have linked chapters in the description down below, so you can skip ahead to the sections that interest you most. We're going to start with plays, go into concerts, go into casting, and then finally end up with musicals. So if you're ready, let's explore some of the most exciting plays this year. We're going to start over at the National Theatre, where we have two returning plays heading to the Olivier Theatre. The first one of these is Nye. This is a play that I missed last year, and I am gutted that I did. But thankfully, if you're like me and missed this really exciting play, you can catch it again. It's coming back. From the 3rd of July to the 16th of August, Michael Sheen once again stars in Nye. And this play retells the creation of the NHS. What's also really exciting about this is that if you can't get to London to see this, they have also filmed Nye as well, and you can catch it on the National Theatre's at home page. Their streaming service where they show you loads of different pro shots. So really, you have no excuse. There's way too many ways to go and see Nye. As well as that, this year also sees the return of Dear England, but in a slightly different form to how we're used to. This is going back to the Olivier Theatre from the 10th of March to the 24th of May, and will also play a short season at the Lowry in Salford later in the year. This play explores the tenure of England's football manager Gareth Southgate, and how he reshaped the team. It explores our lost streak, and this new version will include events not included in the last run of Dear England, keeping it up to date with the current events of English football. This play, while I'm not a massive football fan, I was really thoroughly engaged with. James Graham is such a fantastic writer, and we will speak about him more later because we've got loads of James Graham plays to speak about this year. But his writing is so in-depth and captivating, and really captures that emotion that brings people together through the sport of football. So whether you are up in Manchester or down south, you can catch Dear England once again. We've spoken about two big shows, let's speak about two smaller shows. The first is a really exciting transfer from last year's Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Weather Girl. This will play at the Soho Theatre from the 5th of March to the 5th of April and explores Stacey, who is a California weather girl. I love the description of this play. I'm just going to read it verbatim. She is an oversexed and underpaid harbinger of our dying planet, but today her regular routine of wildfires, prosecco and teeth whitening descends into a scorched earth catastrophe before she discovers something that will save us all. This comes from the producers of Fleabag, Kathy and Stella Solve a Murder, Baby Reindeer, so you know immediately they're great at finding the best fringe theatre and bringing it to wider audiences. This play looks so interesting. I heard great things about it from the Fringe, and I can't wait to see it now. Another show I'm so thoroughly excited for is Kenrex. This will be playing at the Southwark Playhouse Bury from the 14th of February to the 15th of March, and this transfers directly from Sheffield Theatres. Now, the reason I'm so excited for this one is because it's been written by Jack Holden, who I saw last when he performed his play Cruise. This was a thoroughly engaging play and my favourite play of that year. And Kenrex looks extremely different, but just as good. July 10th, 1981, Missouri. Small-town bully Ken Rex McElroy rules Skidmore with an iron fist. His 10-year reign of terror has involved theft, intimidation, assault, abduction, and attempted murder. But thanks to his slippery defense attorney and the rusty cogs of the American justice system, Ken Rex has never spent a night behind bars. But when Ken shoots a pillar of the community, the good folk of Skidmore decide that enough is enough. If the courts won't bring Ken to heel, they will. This piece looks thoroughly engaging. It had such a buzz from the run in Sheffield. I can't wait to see this at the Southwark Playhouse. And I told you we returned to James Graham, and it's happened a little bit quicker than I expected, because now we're going to speak about Punch. This is playing at the Young Vic from the 1st of March and has actually extended its season to the 12th of April, months before it even opens. Jacob Dunn, a teenager from Nottingham, spends his Saturday night seeking thrills with his friends. One fateful evening, an impulse punch leads to fatal consequences. After serving prison time, Jacob finds himself lost and directionless. Searching for answers, Joan and David, the parents of his victim, ask to meet, sparking a profound transformation in Jacob's life. As I said, James Graham could write anything and I will be sat. I will be there, sat right there for it. And James Graham has a great track record of bringing true stories to stage, and this is another one of those. It had great reception from the Nottingham Playhouse production, and I can't wait to see it at the Young Vic. That space is constantly bringing up fantastic new work, and this is going to be good. We've got many plays coming next year that bring over big talent. The first of these is Electra, which is playing at the Duke of York's from the 24th of February to the 12th of April. This play brings yet another Marvel superhero to the Duke of York. After Tom Holland last year, we now have Brie Larson, who you may remember from the Captain Marvel films, playing Captain Marvel. And this play, directed by Daniel Fish, who you may remember from his work on Oklahoma, retells the classic Greek tale. Electra is left reeling, overwhelmed with grief and a need to survive after the assassination of her father. When her long-lost brother returns home, they plot to avenge their father's death, but at what cost? I'm really excited to see new work from Daniel Fish over here. Obviously, this is starting over here, whereas Oklahoma transferred. And also, funnily enough, it reunites Daniel Fish with Patrick Vale, who also was in Oklahoma, both on Broadway and over here in the UK. But if travelling to London is a little bit too much for you, they are doing a special preview for this play in Brighton from Monday the 13th of January to Saturday the 18th of January. With tickets still available as cheap as £25, so if you want to snag a really great deal to see a Hollywood star on stage and you live near Brighton, this might be the way to go. And speaking of Hollywood stars taking the stage, we have My Master Builder, which is going to the Wyndham's Theatre from the 17th of April to the 12th of July. And this sees the London return of Ewan McGregor. On the eve of July 4th in the Hamptons, Elena Solness is preparing to throw a party to celebrate her architect husband, as he reveals his latest masterpiece. Their already vulnerable union is shattered by the unexpected arrival of Mathilde, a former student of Henry's, with whom he had previously shared an intimate connection. As the evening unfolds, each find themselves face to face with a reckoning that tilts the axis of their lives. This new play, inspired by The Master Builder by Henrik Ibsen, looks to be thoroughly engaging. And if in the last play we spoke about, we explored some reuniting with Daniel Fish and Patrick Vale, this reunites Michael Grandage as director with Ewan McGregor. Now, I'm going straight into this one just because I like the idea of going from My Master Builder to My Neighbour Totoro, as Totoro is returning to London this year and in a new venue. We've seen for the past couple of years My Neighbour Totoro perform at the Barbican Centre, and now it's finally coming into the West End, transferring to the beautiful Gillian Lynn Theatre for a very hefty run from the 8th of March to the 2nd of November. This obviously retells the classic Studio Ghibli film on stage, as two young sisters meet the mythical creatures in the forest, including the lovable Totoro, or Totoro. My English accent fails me. This is an absolutely magical piece of theatre. It's adorable, and all of the wonderful puppetry of it just makes you feel like a child again. It captures that wonder, and honestly, I have to go and see it again. It is beautiful and so well done, capturing that film on stage wonderfully. I can't wait to see who comes into this cast and to see Totoro come to life on stage once again. I've now got to find a tentative link between My Neighbor Totoro and the next play I'm going to speak about. So, My Neighbor Totoro, produced by Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli have been nominated for many Oscars and have won Oscars in the past. And the next play we're speaking about is about the first black man to win the Oscar for Best Actor. In the play, Retrograde. This is a transfer from the Kiln Theatre going to the Apollo Theatre in the West End from the 8th of March to the 14th of June. This has been written by Ryan Callis Cameron, who you may know from his work on For Black Boys. And this play explores Sidney Poitier, 10 years before he becomes the first black man to win the Oscar for Best Actor. This gripping drama captures the moment a young Sidney Poitier prepares to sign a career-defining Hollywood contract that can make him a star. But there's a catch. Will he put his career before his principles? In a time of betrayals, will he name names? Will he sign his life away? You can tell all of the amazing drama that's going to come from this piece of theatre just from that description. And knowing how much I adore For Black Boys, I have all the faith in this play. I missed it at the Kiln and I'm gutted, but I'm so thankful that I'm going to be able to catch it, hopefully, in the West End this year. Something I won't be able to catch in the West End this year because it's only got a very short run and it's sold like that, is A Streetcar Named Desire. Yes, this Almeida production, which transferred to the Phoenix Theatre, is returning this year, but only for 3 weeks, running from the 3rd to the 22nd of February at the Noel Coward Theatre. This classic Tennessee Williams play is all about Blanche. As she reunites with her sister Stella, she brings a past that will threaten the future. This is one of Tennessee Williams' best plays, and it has been reviewed so well in every previous production, and I've missed it every single time. And what's really sad is that I don't know if they're going to do any kind of lottery. They did glow sticks last time. I don't know. You cracked a glow stick. If it glowed, you got tickets. I'm hoping they do something like that this time. Otherwise, I'm going to severely miss out. Insert that one SpongeBob meme here where it's Squidward inside the house and Patrick and SpongeBob are running around outside. That's me while everyone else gets to go and see A Streetcar Named Desire. Going from one Almeida production to another. See, I'm really good at linking these. Wow, I'm doing it. The Years is heading to the Harold Pinter Theatre in the West End from January 24th to April the 19th. And this is a play that spans generations. It showcases the story of womanhood through mundane, funny, and heart-wrenching moments, as well as through the larger lens of history, from air raid sirens to the invention of contraceptive pills, Vietnam, and more. This play paints the portrait of a woman and how she's shaped by the ever-changing world around her. This play initially went very underneath my radar, but I've started to hear a lot of really interesting buzz about it. So I'm hoping I'll be able to catch it this year. It opens really soon, actually. I didn't realize how soon it actually opened. Wow, January 24th. I thought this opened like a lot later into the year, if I'm being perfectly honest. Wow, I literally spoke about every single one of these plays throughout the year, and still I don't know when anything opens. And going from the years to speak about an actor who it's been years since he's been on the West End, we have Unicorn, which stars Stephen Mangan, alongside Nicola Walker and Erin Doherty. This new play by Mike Bartlett opens at the Garrick Theatre from the 4th of February to the 26th of April 2025. This tells the story of a happily married couple, Polly and Nick, who seem to have it all. However, they're missing a little bit of sparkle. From that description, that's not too much to go off, and I'm really intrigued to see what this play is going to be like. It seems to have a lot of potential, and I mean, what a cast. So I guess I've got to head down to the Garrick early this year. Okay, how the hell am I going to get from Unicorn to Richard III? How am I meant to do this? Erin Doherty, she was on The Crown. Imelda Staunton was also on The Crown. She starred with Andy Nyman in Hello Dolly. Do you know what Andy Nyman recently starred in? The Wicked film. Do you know who else was in The Wicked film? Jonathan Bailey. Do you know what Jonathan Bailey is starring in? Richard II. Oh, I'm good. Oh boy. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm good. Richard II sees the stage return of Jonathan Bailey, which you may know him now from Bridgerton, or you may know him from a little film called Wicked. But now he is heading to the Bridge Theatre from the 10th of February to the 10th of May to star as Richard II, going from dancing through life to Shakespeare. The classic pipeline. This show tells the tale of Richard II, a charismatic king who was a poor leader. His dishonesty and constant bad decisions finally cause his subjects to turn against him. It's very interesting to see this head to the bridge. Obviously, we've had guys and dolls sitting at the bridge, so it's nice to see the bridge return to business as usual. And seeing Jonathan Bailey on a stage in London again is going to be so fantastic. I haven't seen him in a play since the show that had a phallic name that I can't say because I don't want to get demonetized, and his role in Company. So I'm very excited to see him in this. But you know, Jonathan Bailey, he'll have a lot of fans across the world now because Wicked was such a smash hit everywhere, including in Japan. Do you know what else is in Japan? Kyoto, where the play Kyoto is set. This is heading to at Soho Place from the 9th of January to the 3rd of May. I have made this video so much harder with myself trying to link all of these plays that have no link. This is an RSC production that was seen in their Stratford-upon-Avon Theatre last year. This retells the gripping story of the historic 1997 climate summit. Hours after the summit should have ended, the nations of the world are still in a deadlock as they attempt to reach a negotiation for the first legally binding emissions targets. Among those making a negotiation difficult is American oil lobbyist Don Perlman. Will the countries of the world be able to set aside their differences for the good of the planet? Soho Place is a perfect venue for this really intimate feeling theatre. And I can't wait to see this one. It looks so interesting, so gripping. And being right a part of that action, right a part of that debate, is what makes this one of the most exciting new shows this year for me. But speaking of exciting new shows, do you know who had a presence at that summit? It would be England, the British. Do you know what Britain was really good at having? Spies. Yes, a new Mischief Theatre production is coming to London's West End this year, and this is the comedy about spies. A rogue British agent steals plans for a top-secret new weapon. Spies from the CIA and the KGB assemble at London's Piccadilly Hotel to track down the British moat and obtain the file. When a young British couple and an older actor auditioning for the title role in the first James Bond film check into the hotel, the stakes reach boiling point in this riotous world of Cold War farce. This seems to be going very much in line with the style of comedy about a bank robbery. Obviously, it follows a very similar naming convention as well. We've already seen a little snippet of this show at the Royal Variety Performance, and honestly, it looks very funny. And very much in line with the type of comedy we've come to expect from Mischief Theatre. This one will be playing at the Noel Coward Theatre from the 14th of April and is currently booking until the 3rd of August. And finally, one of the most anticipated shows of the year for me is Giant. This is going to be playing at the Harold Pinter Theatre from the 26th of April 2025 until the 2nd August. This is a transfer directly from the Royal Court, and I heard so much buzz about this play. This play explores children's author Roald Dahl and a giant scandal he found himself a part of, and the one chance he had to make amends. I am so extremely excited for this play, especially now that we know that we are seeing the return of John Lithgow in the role of Roald Dahl in this play. So, with all the plays out of the way for next year, let's speak about some casting choices. There's only 2 shows I want to bring up right now that have really exciting casting choices going into next year. The first is Hadestown, because we now know that the original Broadway cast of Hadestown will be returning to London to play these roles in the West End, and while it hasn't been announced, potentially film a pro shot over here. Eva Noblezada, Reeve Carney, Amber Gray, Andrea Shields, and Patrick Page are all returning to their roles for a short 5-week season, and it completely sold out before it went on general sale. I snagged the ticket for this last second. I'm going to see this, and it's so exciting, especially knowing how much they grew from that original London run to Broadway. I can't wait to see their new takes on the roles, and Oh my god, it's so exciting. Oh my god, it's so exciting. And speaking of exciting casting, Cabaret. We have our first Sally Bowles in MC for next year. Lined up for this are Billy Porter, which is inspired casting. Billy Porter is going to be a really different style of MC. And matched with him is a very different style of Sally Bowles in Marisha Wallace. A fantastic performer who I've never really seen as a Sally Bowles. But I think that makes me even more excited to see her take on it and her version. Even like 3 years after opening, Cabaret continues to keep the intrigue going with this exciting new casting. So now let's speak about some concerts. The first one I'm going to mention, because it's sold out and I'm really sad, is Patti LuPone. Patti LuPone is returning to London on the 16th February to the London Coliseum. Do I need to say anything more? It's Patti LuPone in London doing a concert at the London Coliseum, and it's sold out and I can't go. I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm poor. If you have tickets to see Patti LuPone, you can sleep very well tonight knowing I am extremely jealous of you. We also have some exciting musical concerts. The first of these is We Aren't Kids Anymore, a brand new musical which is having a concert at the Savoy Theatre on the 28th of April. This currently stars Sam Tutty, Amy Atkinson, and Dylan Mulvaney in a dynamic and thoughtful musical exploration tapping into the profound feeling of never truly growing up. As well as that, also going to the Savoy a little bit earlier is If Then. This is a musical that I was kind of like, okay, it's never going to really come over to London. It's not going to happen. Maybe in 10 years or so, we'll get a production, maybe at the Southwark Playhouse or something, but we are getting it in the West End for one night only. Standing at a pivotal crossroads, Elizabeth faces a choice that will send her down two parallel paths, each leading to a radically different future. On her first day back, she reconnects with Lucas, an old friend, and meets Kate, her vibrant new neighbour. Lucas invites her to join the world of activism, while Kate offers a lighter diversion: coffee, music, and the temptation of a charismatic guitarist nearby. As the story unfolds, audiences follow Elizabeth's journey through these parallel lives, exploring how every decision, no matter how small, shapes the course of destiny. This is a musical that's been on my radar for a long time now, and I'm really excited to hopefully be able to see it. Even if it's not a full production, a little taster of what this show could be like, with a fantastic cast, including Kerry Ellis and David Hunter. And another Broadway musical I didn't really expect myself to get a big chance to see, which is coming over in a concert a little bit too far from me, is Nine. This is celebrating the Hope Mill Theatre's 9th anniversary. Great choices there, and will play at the Lowry from the 1st to the 2nd of February, starring an absolutely phenomenal cast, as it tells the story of a movie director with creative block and about to step into a midlife crisis. All of these concerts happen right at the start of the year. We've still got a lot more concerts to see throughout 2025, and I'm really excited to see what gets announced, and hopefully we get a little taste at some other new musicals we haven't seen in the UK for a long time, or ever. And at long last, let's explore the musicals coming next year. There's a real variety here. As you can probably tell from some of the plays we spoke about, the National Theatre is having a long season of returns. And one musical that's returning is London Road. This is a verbatim musical which explores a tragedy in Ipswich. London Road tells a story of ordinary people and how they come together through an extraordinary time. If you want to catch this one again, obviously I missed it the first time around. This plays at the Olivier Theatre as part of the National Theatre from the 5th to the 21st of June 2025. In a complete tonal shift from the last show we talked about, that's all about tragedy and the worst parts of humanity, we have Scissorhands, which is a musical parody based on Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands. This plays at the Southwark Playhouse Elephant from the 23rd of January to the 29th of March. As this musical explores Tim Burton's classic character, packed with 90s and 2000s hits. This looks wild, it looks weird, it looks wacky, but honestly, I'm kind of here for that. We also have some really exciting tours coming next year. The first of these is Calamity Jane, which opens on the 14th of January in Aylesbury. Calamity Jane is the biggest mouth in Dakota territory and is always up for a fight. She'll charm you hog-eyed though, especially when trying to win the heart of dashing Lieutenant Gil Martin, or shooting insults at the notorious Wild Bill Hickok. But when the men of Deadwood fall hard for Chicago stage star Adelaide Adams, Calamity struggles to keep her jealousy holstered. Her heart's a thumping, but who for? This sees a big return for Carrie Hope Fletcher into musical theatre, in a role, honestly, so perfect for her. I can't wait to see this as this heads across the UK this year. We also have a musical that I'm very excited for, which is Coraline. Look, I love Coraline. I adore Coraline so much. Like, the vibes of that, like the eerie spookiness. Oh, it's so good. And we are getting a brand new Coraline musical opening at the Leeds Playhouse on the 11th of April and then going on a short UK tour. This explores the same story as the book and, of course, the beloved film, where Coraline moves into a new house and notices a small mysterious door, which when she enters, she is transported to a parallel world where everything seems perfect. Or is it? Coraline is so rife for a beautifully eerie musical adaptation, in a similar way to how I thought like The Witches was perfect, or Matilda is perfect. If they can capture that kind of style, I think Coraline's going to work wonderfully on stage. I can't wait to see more about this brand new musical. And going quite late into the year next year, we have Miss Saigon, a reimagined tour of the classic tale, exploring the love story of American GI Chris and Kim on the final days of the Vietnam War. This new version seems to be inspired by the Sheffield Theatre production before it, blended with the classic we know and love. What this means is they're probably going to cut the helicopter. Let's be real, they're probably going to cut the helicopter just to make it cheaper and easier to tour to places that it can't go to and hasn't been able to go to before. Why else would they get rid of probably the most iconic logo of all time in the helicopter face logo thing that Miss Saigon has had for decades now? Nonetheless, from hearing reactions of that initial production, it's very clear to see that Miss Saigon can work without the helicopter. So it's very exciting to see this version, and it's nice to see a version of Miss Saigon that can go to places it's never been able to go to before. One last tour to talk about, and a musical that I absolutely adore, Kinky Boots. Kinky Boots is going on a UK tour starting in January, specifically the 17th of January at the Curve, Leicester. This is a brand new production of Kinky Boots, the second non-replica production that we've seen in the UK, but the first non-replica production to go on a full-scale UK tour. This is based on a true story of a failing shoe factory. After the death of his father, Charlie Price steps up to lead this factory and finds a new niche market with help of drag queen Lola. This is a wonderful story of acceptance and love, and it's so lovely, so vibrant, so full of life. I can't wait to see this again and to see new life breathed into it. A musical I've been wanting in the UK for so long, annoyingly it's quite far and I don't know if I'll be able to travel for it, is Tick Tick Boom. This is an autobiographical musical exploring the life of Jonathan Larson, before he worked on Rent and before his tragic passing. This explores his life in New York, his struggle to get his musical up on its legs, and the risks he'll take to pursue his passions. This obviously had a fantastic film adaptation, and if you want to see it, you can head over to Wales, as it plays at the Theatre Cloud from the 2nd to the 28th of June 2025. Now, next year is a very good year for Manchester. Manchester is getting everything. The first of these really cool things is 13 going on 30. This musical is obviously based on the classic film of the same name, and is going to the Manchester Opera House from the 21st of September to the 12th of October. Following the same story as the film, Jenna Rink is an adorably awkward 13-year-old girl who wishes she could skip over the misery of high school. When her birthday wish comes true, Jenna magically wakes up as an adult to find herself 30, flirty, and thriving, as the editor of a fashion magazine with a seemingly perfect life. But as she gradually unravels the mystery of what kind of person she's become, she goes on a journey to work out what and who really matters. This stars the incredible Lucy Jones as Jenna Rink, and I've heard a lot of really great discussions about this musical from the workshops they've done before, and I'm hoping this can be a great next step for this musical to refine it into the perfect musical it can be. And that's not the only movie to musical adaptation that the Manchester Opera House is hosting this year. From the 11th of April to the 10th of May, the Manchester Opera House will be home to A Knight's Tale, a musical adaptation based on the 2001 film, about a peasant who tries to pass himself off as a nobleman. As well as that, Manchester is also getting Freaky Friday. This is a musical that's been developed over in the States for years now. It starred Heidi Blickenstaff, who you may know from Something Rotten or Title of Show, and it's finally getting its UK premiere at the Home of Manchester next Christmas for a seasonal run from the 27th of November to the 31st of December. This is obviously based on a Disney Channel film of the same name, as mother and daughter Catherine and Ellie swap bodies and come to appreciate one another's struggles, learn self-acceptance, and realize the immeasurable love and mutual respect that bond a mother and daughter. I'm really excited to see how they've developed this musical, whether there's going to be any changes. It's being led by Heather's director Andy Fickman. I think it's going to be a really fun one to see. Going from one musical in a location that's hard for me to get to another musical in a location that's hard for me to get for, as we are seeing a very short return for the Lord of the Rings musical. This played a couple of years ago at the Watermill and is going on a large-scale European tour. However, there is only one UK date in that entire tour, and it's in Plymouth. Now, I don't have any disdain for Plymouth, I just know how hard it is for me to get to Plymouth. And I love this version of the musical so much that somehow I'm going to have to find a way to get to Plymouth. This plays at the Theatre Royal Plymouth from the 4th to the 11th of October and musicalizes the book series by Tolkien into a 3-hour musical epic, exploring Frodo's quest to destroy the One Ring to rule them all. This production sees so many wonderful choices, a great actor-musician cast, and I adored it at the Watermill, and I really, really want to see it again. But you know, we spent a lot of time talking about musicals across the country. Let's take a big focus onto London now. The first London musical we need to speak about is a Broadway transfer, and this is The Great Gatsby. Jay Gatsby cordially invites you to his little party, which is happening at the London Coliseum from the 11th of April to the 7th of September. And this big, flashy Broadway musical retells the classic story. Nick's neighbor is the mysterious Jay Gatsby, a man who loves to host extravagant parties, but very little is known about him. When Nick becomes one of the few people to get invited to one of Gatsby's parties, he starts to slowly learn more about him and the love he has for a woman named Daisy. If you have been on social media for like the past year, you'll know bits of the Great Gatsby musical. You'll know New Money. You'll know the opening number. Where's the party? And can you take me there? And when the party's over, can you find another party somewhere? It's had a very successful run on Broadway, so let's see how it's received over here in the UK, especially in a venue as big as the Coliseum. That is going to be one extravagant party. Another musical which is transferring from Broadway, technically, is Sing Street. This is based on a film set in Ireland and is heading to the Lyric Hammersmith from the 8th of July to the 23rd of August. Now, Sing Street has quite a sad history because it was initially going to open on Broadway back in 2020, and you probably know how that went. It sadly pulled out of its Broadway run and didn't open when theatres reopened in 2021. But now this musical is taking its next steps over here, going off West End to explore the story of Connor, a boy living in Dublin in 1982 who is not fitting into his new Catholic school. Enter Rafina, a mysterious girl who's too cool for school and on the lookout for a modelling job. In an effort to impress, Connor hires her to star in a music video for his band. The only problem is, he doesn't have a band. Yet. It's been a long time since I've seen this film, and I need to rewatch it to refresh my memory of it, but it's very exciting to see it come over here. It's one step closer to Ireland. Next up, let's speak about two Sondheim musicals. The first is the final Sondheim musical ever written, Here We Are. This is transferring from off-Broadway and going to the National Theatre, specifically the Littleton Theatre, from the 23rd of April to the 28th of June. Leo and Marianne Brink have found the ideal spot to take their friends. With great reviews, impeccable service, and an extensive menu, it seems like nothing could go wrong. But after a series of strange events interrupt their meal, they soon realise they've bitten off more than they can chew. There's been a lot of talk about this musical. It's weird, it's absurdist. And honestly, I'm really excited for this one. Because of the cast. I mean, that cast is phenomenal. Jane Krakowski? You could just cast Jane Krakowski on her own, and that would be enough for me to be interested. I'm really intrigued to see this musical, especially hearing some of the responses from off-Broadway. And the other Sondheim musical we're getting is a little bit smaller scale. It's heading to the Southwark Playhouse Borough, and this is a revival of The Frogs. This stars Glee star Kevin McHale making his London theatre debut, in the role as Xanthanus, which is a name I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, but these are a lot of ancient Greek names, and I don't know how to say them very well. Shaken by a divided and despairing political climate, Dionysus and trusty sidekick Xanthias take a leap of faith straight into Hades. Their mission, find a cure for an ailing world. But when they reach the River Styx, they encounter their worst nightmare, frogs. Not your average pond dwellers, these amphibians are stubborn beings who resist change and are determined for the status quo to remain the same. Will our dynamic duo outsmart these swampy naysayers and hop towards humanity's salvation, or will they get bogged down in their muddy resistance? This sounds wonderfully camp, and if you think it sounds wonderfully camp, that's because it's been written by Nathan Lane, and continues a trend of this company at the Southwark Playhouse bringing lesser-known Sondheim musicals back into London, after their production a few years ago of Anyone Can Whistle. This looks like a blast. It's a Sondheim musical that I don't know too much about, and honestly, that excites me even more. Next up, frogs. You think nature. You think maybe plants. You think farming. You think corn. You think Shucked. Shucked is a musical that officially hasn't been announced yet. However, the director has officially stated that it will be going to the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre next summer, which I think we can kind of safely say allows it to be on this list. This Broadway musical is set in a small town whose beloved corn crop is withering away, and follows determined farm girl Maisie as she leaves the town in search of help, disrupting their routine and sparking transformative change. I've been very aware of this musical for a little while now. I've been listening to a lot of the Broadway cast album, and oh my god, it looks so much fun. And honestly, Regent's Park Open Air Theatre is a fantastic venue for it. Inspired. I'm really excited to see how this musical takes to London, and hopefully that run at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre will lead in to a bigger future life for Shucked over here in London. However, we're going to have to wait until more official announcements to get a better sense of what's happening with Shucked. If it does go to the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, that announcement isn't too far away. If last year is any indication, I reckon by the end of this month we'll know what shows are playing this year at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. And another show with a lot of mystery still surrounding it is Evita. This big revival of Evita is heading to the London Palladium for their summer slot, opening for a 12-week run on the 14th of June. This musical explores Eva Perón and how she rose from poverty to become the most powerful woman in Argentina. This musical explores the positives and negatives of Eva Perón's life, and is being directed by Jamie Lloyd, who obviously a lot of people know from his Shakespeare productions recently, and for his work on Sunset Boulevard. However, this is not the first time Jamie Lloyd is directing Evita. Jamie Lloyd previously directed Evita at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. This production was going to transfer into the Barbican Theatre, but sadly became a casualty of COVID. Now, despite this now being officially announced, after Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of let it slip that Jamie Lloyd would be doing this a little bit earlier into the year, the question still remains of whether this is going to be a completely brand new production or a remounting of that production at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. From the way that they've kind of been speaking about it, it's pretty safe to say that this is going to be a new production. Nonetheless, I'm excited to see a new version of Evita. You may or may not be aware that Evita is my favorite Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, and honestly, I'm very excited I'm going to be able to see it on stage again. Oh, I do love Evita. But you know, there's still a lot that we don't know about Evita. We don't know casting, you could say that we're a bit clueless about that. And that leads me into my next musical, Clueless. Comment down below which of my transitions between shows was your favorite, because I think it might be this one for me. I think I've outdone myself. This is obviously based on a film of the same name and is opening at the Trafalgar Theatre from the 15th of February, currently booking until the 14th of June. This musical explores Cher, who is one of the most popular students at Beverly Hills High. She is about to embark on her biggest project yet, making over her new awkward friend and setting her up with the most handsome boy in school. But what happens to Cher when, for the first time, everything is not perfect? I was very kindly invited to a launch event for this musical. I've had a little taster of some of the songs, and honestly, it sounds really, really good. They've released a full version of Human Barbie, which is one of the best songs from that launch, and oh my god, I really recommend go listening to it. If the music of this show lives up to that quality throughout, I think we might be in for one of the strongest film to musical adaptations in a long time. And it's nice to see this musical come over, especially because this has been tried and tested before. It was originally a jukebox musical. And speaking of jukebox musicals, Just for One Day. Just for One Day was tried last year at the Old Vic and is getting a big West End transfer, opening at the Shaftesbury Theatre on the 15th of May and currently booking until the 10th of January 2026. This explores the event Live Aid, and that famous date on the 13th of July 1985, where music united the world. And Bob Geldof's journey on putting together one of the most ambitious concerts ever produced. While I had a couple of hang-ups about it, this musical showed a lot of potential with its run at the Old Vic, and honestly, I'm quite excited to see it this year. See how it's grown and adapted itself and refined itself, because a lot of what worked about it really did work. When they went into the classic numbers, the casting that they had at the Old Vic. There's a lot to be excited about as Just for One Day opens, not just for one day, for a proper season. And finally, we're going from titans of the music world to titans of Greek mythology. As the final musical I want to speak about, probably the most excited I am for a new musical next year, is the long-anticipated adaptation of Hercules. Hercules the musical, after a long period of workshopping itself for the stage. Productions in the open air in New York, productions in Germany, New Jersey. Finally, at long last, Hercules is coming to London, to the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, from the 6th of June, currently booking until the 10th of January 2026. Hercules follows the story of the classic Disney film, seeing Hercules discover the truth about his parentage and going on a journey to return to Mount Olympus. There's been a lot of ups and downs for the journey of Hercules on stage, and I've been watching this with bated breath for a long time. It seems like the version in Hamburg has kind of struck the right chord of what they want the Hercules musical to be, and it looks like that's going to be a very similar version to what's coming over to the UK. And from hearing the response from that Hamburg production, I think we should all be very excited for what Hercules is going to bring on a London stage. But that is all the musicals, plays, concerts, and casting choices I am very, very excited for in 2025. Obviously, a lot of things have not been announced yet, and I will be recapping all of the news when it comes out in my weekly news recap series. So if you want to stay up to date with UK theatre, make sure you hit subscribe. The weekly news recaps will return very soon. And let me know in the comments down below, what are you most excited for this year? And are there any shows that I missed off? Honestly, there's a lot of shows, and I probably did, let's be honest. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you'd like to drop me a follow over there. I also have other social links and a merch store in the description down below. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.